Vader. It's a traditional way before drama schools came into being, so it's a long tradition. Well, my drama school was the street.
The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast.
Hello there, and welcome to The Force of Others. I'm Zachary Owen Turner, and today we have a huge episode for you. We're talking about the unfortunate passing of Kenneth Colley, Ahsoka Season 2 director details, and then we're going to head over into the Canon Comics Corner to talk about Legacy of Vader number 5, and after that we will head to the Interview Cantina with Matt Boitner to talk to good friends of the podcast, Brian Lawson. But before we get into all of that, we have a question from our viewers like you. Matt will actually insert his response to this question as well, so you'll get a little bit of Matt. In case you are not listening normally, I usually have a co-host named Matt Boitner, and he is off doing a bunch of life things, and so he will be back towards the end of the month. But in the meantime, you got me, and a little bit of him. He'll be in the episode throughout, just kind of having little videos here and there. But we have a question from his brother, Mark Boitner, who pointed out a question that he saw on Reddit that we loved. It comes from Redditor visible_disaster8616, and the question is, who is the narrator of Star Wars? Who says, "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away"? Now, this is a very interesting question for me because growing up, we were always told that it was the droids who were the narrators. It was C-3PO and R2. We literally see C-3PO narrating what has happened in Star Wars so far in Return of the Jedi. He tells the Ewoks about Darth Vader and does the translation and the sounds and the, we literally see it in Star Wars. So, and then after that, in Ahsoka, which we will get to talk about later, Hu Yang literally says the words "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away," which is also very interesting. So are they telling stories about our galaxy, or why would they say a far, far away as well? Now, in universe, the answer has always been droids, right? But to me, I think it is a two-parter on who is saying "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." In one part, I think it's anyone in universe who tells a story about the universe. I think it could be, hundreds of years from this timeline telling people of the story of Darth Vader. It could be a dad or mom or parent or alien parent reading to their child and talking to them about this story. And in a way, I think that's also my second answer. I think it's you and me. I think it's us. I think it's any storyteller who gets to tell about Star Wars. We talk about it all the time as a fandom, we are the storytellers of Star Wars. We are the ones who introduce it to our friends. We are the ones who introduce it to our family. And to tie it back to the podcast, we're the Force of Others. We are the ones talking about it because we're the ones that live it, where it's like the quote from How I Met Your Mother. The only people who haven't seen Star Wars are the ones that are in it, and that's because they lived it. Ted, quote from Marshall in that show. But yeah, we are the storytellers. I think we are the storytellers of Star Wars, and yeah, I think that's pretty cool. To hear Matt's thoughts on this, I'm gonna send it on over to him.
Hey everybody, sorry that I'm missing the podcast over these last couple weeks and the next week as well. I am actively directing my summer camp here at the Granbury Theater Academy. We've just finished day 2 of Finding Nemo, but to the task at hand, let's answer this question that Mark Boitner sent us from Reddit. Basically, who is the narrator of Star Wars? I have two things that come to mind. Similar to Zach, there is the old George Lucas, I really think it was more of a joke, that R2-D2 is the narrator of Star Wars because he has not had his mind wiped like C-3PO, and that's why R2-D2 is always portrayed as so heroic and saving everybody because he's the one that is telling you the story. But the other answer that I think bears mentioning springs off of the original title of the first Star Wars film, to the point that when Mark Hamill first got handed the script, the full title, if you don't know, was The Adventures of Luke Starkiller. as taken from the Journal of the Wills, Saga 4, The Star Wars. So who are the Wills? And I think that is the actual answer of who is recounting this story. The Wills, depending on... They've shown up a couple times in very, very extended continuity as kind of these fate-controlling or altering higher beings that can communicate with the Force on a higher level. Kind of similar to midichlorians, but different. Supposedly, George was going to get into this in his sequel trilogy. Supposedly, it's part of why he wanted to make his sequel trilogy in the first place. But who knows? And these ideas grow and change. But the Wills being named, only time I've ever been named on screen was Rogue One, the Guardians of the Wills. And back in 2016, I freaked out and stared at the screen and lost my mind because we got the Wills mentioned. But, so I think that's really who it is. It is these Force spirits that are telling these stories to us. That's why the stories are oftentimes so Force-centric, but kind of similar to what Zach just said about we are the ones that are reciting the Star Wars story, and we are the ones that are saying a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. What I think also gives evidence to that is, the original words were not a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It was once upon a time in space. And that was the opening sentence that showed up deep into the production of the first Star Wars movie. I think Brian De Palma was the one that suggested changing it. Or at least he changed the opening crawl. I might be getting my stuff wrong. So I think it's the Wills, but ultimately it's a fairy tale, which it opens up a whole other can of worms. It's a fairy tale, but I think the Wills are who narrate Star Wars. So there's my answer, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right, and thank you so much to Mark for that question. I realized last week I didn't talk about my week and my work and my Star Wars week, so I'm going to do a little bit of 2 weeks of that. It's been a fun 2 weeks. Happy 4th to everyone. May the 4th be with you. We can celebrate Star Wars every month. But had a good set of weeks. I had some family members in town. I had my cousin who had never been to the city, and so got to show him around and experience a lot of art in the city through somebody else's eyes, which was really fun. As far as how Star Wars found me, I went back to the Museum of Nostalgia up here. It is a half museum, half vintage toy store, and I felt like a little kid because I was able to find a 1977 Darth Vader with the extendable lightsaber that looks like a toothpick back from the 70s. It doesn't have the original cape because those things are harder to find, the little vinyl plastics, because how do we play with toys? We play with them. We take things off, we put them back on, and those vinyl capes always were destroyed. So if you ever find one of those, make sure to pick it up because those things only are going to grow in value, and it's cool to have a original piece. So I have one of the original Kenner 1977 Darth Vaders now, which is awesome. And we're going to head on over to the news section of the podcast. Unfortunately, we had some bad news come out this week that actor Kenneth Colley, or as we know him, Admiral Piet, has unfortunately passed away at the age of 87. What a long life, and a true, rest in peace to Mr. Colley. I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive into their career as a thank you to everything that they've done for Star Wars, and, just a nice little actor spotlight on the podcast. They had a career spanning from 1961 to 2016. To be acting at that age, on both edges of the spectrum, is quite a thing. You would know Mr. Colley, obviously, from Admiral Piet, the only returning admiral from a Star Wars movie to the next, besides Admiral Hux, but in the original trilogy, the only one that didn't get choked. There was the moment where he told them about Luke Skywalker, and he was like, this is it, I'm about to die, and Vader just turns around and walks away, and he survives, which is a great character moment, and wonderfully acted by Mr. Colley. He was First seen as a dead body in A for Andromeda TV series, which I always like to see what actors' first things that they did, you know. But yeah, they were a dead body. He always said they threw you on stage in small parts so that they didn't have to pay an actor. It's a traditional way before drama schools came into being, so it's a long tradition. Well, my drama school was the street. I have been with some of the best anyway. You know, Tom Hopkins, John Gielgud, Colin Blakely, Glenda Jackson. They don't come any better than those people. So he was a actor that kind of learned doing the business, which is, as an actor, you never stop learning. And so to learn on the stage is a great way to learn. He was a prolific stage actor, working with the Royal Shakespeare Company, Old Vic, and Royal Court theaters throughout his time. He would later work with the Monty Python crew, even being Jesus in A Life of Brian in a cutaway scene. And the last thing that he did was actually in Peaky Blinders. He was Vincente Changretta, which I will put up here. But yeah, great actor. What a life, what a career. Seemed like a wonderful person to work with. And, rest in peace. And, we can all be so lucky to live to 87. That is a long life. And so thank you for everything that you've done for Star Wars and for acting in general, Mr. Kenneth Colley. All right, so we got some more Ahsoka Season 2 news. We have 4 confirmed directors. Those are Dave Filoni. Duh. Dave Filoni was always writing and directing the show. It is his character, and it will always be his character. The other duh is a Bryce Dallas Howard, which has become a staple in these Star Wars TV shows. I always love Bryce Dallas Howard's episodes that she does. She has the legacy of Star Wars, with her father also having directed a Star Wars film and many other George Lucas properties, and she is a fantastic director in her own right. She doesn't even need to stand on her legacy shoes. She is fantastic. Every single one of her episodes is moving, has such heart to it, and so I'm very excited to see Miss Bryce Dallas Howard coming back. We also got Jennifer Getzinger, who directed episode 6 of the first series, but also has done so many other things. The Penguin, Jessica Jones, Outer Range, and Westworld, amongst many others, but those are kind of some of the nerdy ones for our listeners here. And the last is a brand new director to the Star Wars world, which is Anders Engstrom, which I think is very interesting because he directed 4 episodes of one of my favorite TV series, which is Taboo, with Tom Hardy, main acting and writing that show. He has also directed Apple TV's C. I think he has 17 episodes of there. Hannah on Amazon Prime, and then in the Disney realm, he's done a couple episodes of the Percy Jackson TV series. So not new to Disney, but new to Star Wars. A very interesting director to bring in. Someone who has handled some more serious properties, which will be interesting to see how that translates to Ahsoka. I'm curious to see his episode or episodes and see how that all goes. But yeah, that's as far as it goes for news. It was a relatively, smaller week on the news front. But I have read Legacy of Vader number 5. So we're going to go over to the Canon Comics Corner. Whoosh! That's going to be the sound effect now. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll find another one. But here we are in the Canon Comics Corner. I have read Legacy of Vader number 5. A very interesting comic written by Charles Soule. In this episode, we see Kylo... Ooh. Put the mic back. In this episode, we see Kylo Ren leading an attack on Naboo, but also leading the rebellion. It is a very interesting comic because when he's Kylo Ren, he's like, okay, cool, I am the rightful king of Naboo. I am going to take it over. And Hux is even like, dude, why are we doing this? Like, we need a shipyard. We don't have a shipyard. I think we should go attack Corellia. I have battle plans for Corellia, not for Naboo, but yeah, sure, I guess and he's like, because I am the rightful king. I am the supreme leader. which is, a very Kylo Ren thing to do. But then we see him also lead the rebellion on this same Naboo. We see a little bit of First Order tactics when we have soldiers on the base, on the ground. The officer tells the captain, I believe, because he has a red guard, that, you find someone who will listen to you. If they don't, you kill them, and then you move on to the next one. And the captain goes, okay, so standard playbook. And the officer's like, yeah. And then Kylo Ren comes out of nowhere in a cool new outfit and shoots them all. And starts to lead a rebellion on the tactics of the First Order. We get a very interesting comment, a little bit of Ben Solo coming through the Kylo Ren mask of him being like, I was raised on the rebellion tactics. Listen to me and we will get the First Order off of your planet. He talks about how the First Order is used to overwhelming force and how you can pick apart, these different tactics. And this whole time you're kind of thinking, why is he doing this? Why? And then a character comes in and goes, hey, Kylo Ren, why are you doing this? Why are you leading the rebellion against your own First Order? And he goes, well, I gotta find, somebody worthy. Actually, Vinay says, you need to find somebody worthy of you. You're actually trying to hurt yourself, and the only way to hurt yourself is to hurt the First Order. See, to me, I thought he was trying to test Hux and be like, okay, cool. Let's see how well you do on a battle plan that isn't yours, that I'm telling you to do. Will you follow orders? And can I trust you to take, my orders and bring them into fruition? Which he does. He's about to bomb a city. And Kylo leads a assault on him with all of these junk ships. So there's like X-Wings with TIE Fighter wings, and Naboo fighters with TIE Fighter wings, and TIE Fighters with X-Wing wings, and all of these different, ragtag ships, and they're attacking a dreadnought that was going to level the city. And right when they're about to fully level the city, Kylo Ren says, hey, we're not going to be on Naboo anymore. Stop all hostilities and retreat. And Hux is like, what? And, you feel for Hux in this one, because you're really like, it shows how just frantic Kylo Ren is as a leader at this point, and how he's trying to make the past die, but doesn't know what that means. And then you get some really interesting conversations with Vinay. And Vinay is like, hey, I have a vault on Vader's castle that will give you all of this power, but you're not worthy of it yet, because you're being, you're just like self-deprecating. You're attacking yourself. And Kylo goes, okay, fine. Find me somebody worthy of me, a worthy opponent. It's very Vikings Valhalla. Find me somebody worthy of my power. And Vinay says, okay. And it ends with saying, next issue, Order 66. So if you remember way back when we first got this series, we got a teaser that there would be an Order 66 survivor in this thing. So that should be the next episode. I'm very excited to read it. Next week, I should have 2 comics for you. I should have episode 6 and the Jedi Knights number 5, as well as number 6. So we will see what we have for you in the Canon Comics Corner. But there's lots of Canon comics coming out, and so I'm happy. This is something I always wanted to start with this podcast, and so I'm very happy that it has become a regular segment for us. But yes, that is the end of Legacy number 5 as a summary. But as far as my thoughts on it, I kind of, the series has a lot of filler, and I guess, the point of this issue was to show that he isn't ready, and that he, does need a worthy opponent. And, it was very funny to literally be thinking, why is he doing this? And for a character to go, why are you doing this? But if I'm asking and the character's asking, then why are we doing it, is my main question. So, it's not that expensive of a comic. It's, $3.50 or $4, depending on where you are. So it's like, cool. I don't have to have something jaw-dropping happening every time. And there are some great visuals. The art in this book is fantastic. But again, I'm left wanting in the story a little bit. I'm hoping that this next issue kind of wraps things up for me. As a reason for why it's happening. I'm still so interested in what's in Vader's castle. I'm very interested in Vinay. I'm very interested in to see what Order 66 survivor we get next week. But yeah, again, it's a problem with these comics that we get a lot. It's like, cool, you have to do so many issues, and how are we getting through those issues? So overall, I'm on this issue. I thought it was interesting. I did not love it as much as Dr. Aphra as I did last week. I'm not, I don't hate it as much as I have some of these other comics that have come out. I don't hate comics, but I haven't disliked it as much. But yeah, it's let's wait for the next issue, and we will see how that is. I'm actually very excited for the next issue, as I said before. So that is our Canon Comics Corner! And now I'm going to send it over to Matt Boitner and Brian Lawson in the Interview Cantina.
And here we are. We are in our interview cantina with a guest that is one of my favorite people and someone I have been itching to have on the podcast. And depending on when this comes out, you might have already seen him. He's one of the players in our role-playing game one-shot, The Fate of the Force, Escape from Mos Shuta. But eagle-eared listeners of The Force of Others will know Brian Lawson as for the first time ever in the history of this podcast, people in the Academy are walking over and waving. So we're going to ignore him, and I'm going to focus in. Eagle-eared listeners will recognize Brian Lawson from our Halloween Spectacular, as he read my Jedi Temple short story. But let's give a warm welcome from all corners of this galaxy to Brian Lawson. What's up, man?
Hello.
How are you doing, dude?
Oh, so good. Long-time listener, first-time guest.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time, yeah.
No,
Ready to do this.
You've probably asked more questions that we have answered on the show than anybody else.
Oh.
Not that you've emailed more, but most of the time your questions are like good, and we're like, yes, that will go to the top of the list. That's going to get answered.
When I heard that you were, looking for content, I just sent you a, email with 20 different questions on it. I said, use them if you need them.
And there's been a couple of those. You were responsible for the Jedi Rocks mic drop, where Zach said that he loves Jedi Rocks.
That's right. He said come for him. Yeah, so me and him are going to have it out at one day.
Well, then I have to ask you, because, you and I we're from the special edition generation, where we knew the movies before the special edition. So I guess the VHS generation is really what it is. But
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Jedi Rocks from Return of the Jedi?
It really didn't bug me, and then it started to. And then it never stopped bugging me a little bit. It is a bop. I understand why it was added in. It just, it's not my favorite. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
The CG uvula really just takes me out of the moment.
It's funny at the time, because when the special editions came out, I think I was all of 8. Right, so who knows how I actually felt about any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I hated it for a while, to be honest. Jedi Rocks as well, and I was very much agreed with the rest of the internet. It's like, this is trash. It was better before. And now I'm like, George has done dumber stuff.
There's been worse things that have happened to Star Wars since then. Let's be honest.
There's a preview for things we'll get into later on. But so we've talked about it. We spoiled it a little bit. But Brian, where were you when you first saw Star Wars, or what is your first Star Wars memory?
Okay. I got bi-weekly visitations with my dad on the weekends. I would go and hang out over at my dad's place, and he had a little 12-inch like VCR and television combo unit and that was the only entertainment to be had there besides me going outside and playing. So he would show me all kinds of movies. My eyes crossed and I fell asleep when he showed me Field of Dreams, things like that. I was young. I was like 7 or 8. But he also, because I told him, that guy in the movie, I like his voice. And it was
Oh.
yeah, it was James Earl Jones.
Yeah,
And he goes, "Oh, you do?" And I don't know why that is why he decided that I would love, like Star Wars. But he pulled out the box set of the original VHSs. And it had Darth Vader on it, and it was all space themed. And I was like, I don't know, this isn't gonna be good. And then plugged it in and fell in love.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I got to stay up late that night because I had to watch them all in succession.
That's awesome. So you watched them all in one night.
Yes, absolutely.
That's so
and
cool.
I fell in love with it.
Was it the do you remember, was it the flat black box with like an autograph by like George Lucas on the back? Darth Vader in the original trilogy, or this was just like the vertical box?
Yeah, it was the vertical box.
Okay.
All the way around, and 3 different VHS tapes.
Yes.
For you young kids, that's what was before DVDs. For you younger kids.
I had a conversation with a teenager in the last couple weeks, and I don't remember, she was writing a paper for class or something, and she was like, hey, when did people start using DVDs? And I was like, okay. No, it was, when did people start using VHSs? And I was like, well, just out of curiosity, when do you think it was? And she said, oh, I don't know. Probably like the 40s. So we'll just leave that with that.
It's fine.
But, all right. So we know when you first found out about this Star Wars stuff, but as you have, you never got away from it. You fell in love and you've stayed in love. Who's your favorite hero?
Okay. I meant to do this at the top of the questionnaire, but I'll start now. I want to do something that's never been done on this podcast.
Okay.
I'm invoking the rule of 2. Mainly because I'm indecisive. So any of these favorite questions, I'm going to have 2 answers for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's fair.
But my 2 answers for who's my favorite hero, the first one would be Jedi Master Yoda.
Right on.
Absolute, just perfection. Absolute, best Jedi, but he also has this, once you get past the original trilogy, you start learning more of the lore. You realize, for as wise as he was, and he's the wisest out there, he was still tricked by his own vanity. So, and then, so I've always loved Yoda.
Awesome.
But my number 1 hero is someone who has saved, I think, the most people in the franchise as a whole, without using any force powers, and that is R2-D2.
Yes, sir. Love it. It's fantastic. I think that's the first R2-D2 shout out we've gotten.
Oh man, he is the absolute best. He's always there to save the day. He's cussing in binary at some point or another. But he's just a little precocious scamp who is always at the right place at the right time. And without him, none of what we love would have happened. Everyone would have died. So
it's true. Did you ever hear the George Lucas? I don't know if it was ever. I mean, depending on the interview, George will tell you that his plan was wildly different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But did you ever hear kind of like the theory or joke kind of that he had that R2-D2 may very well be the narrator of Star Wars?
Oh.
And that's why he is always the one saving everybody.
Because he's always always in the frame.
He's at the center of it all.
I
thought
love
that was
that.
funny.
I have my own theory that in the Battle of Naboo, Anakin could fly a ship, but he had never flown a ship with weapons. So I think a lot of that extra stuff was just R2 helping him out. Oh, this is the button.
Yeah. A lot of those happy accidents.
Blow up this. Blow up this.
I like that. That's awesome. I like that a lot. Okay, so we got your favorite heroes, and as you're invoking the rule of 2, this is appropriate for this next one. Who's your favorite villains?
The first one, Darth Sidious. Cue the laugh, Matt. You do that so well. It's my favorite. Darth Sidious, from watching the original trilogies first, he was that, oh, there's somebody that Darth Vader's afraid of, that answers to, and then you finally get to see him in all of his glory, and he just seethes evil. And then out of nowhere, purple lightning out of his hands. And you're just like, what? Oh, he's a good villain. He really is. Also, with all of the rest of the story, he's always got a backup plan and a backup plan to that backup plan, and he will not lose. He's, very conniving in that way. My other villain is Darth Bane.
Ooh, cool.
Yes, Darth Bane. Funny story about Darth Bane. I was having a lot of trouble with reading, comprehension. I could read a sentence or read a paragraph, but by the time I got to the end of it, I had no idea what I had read. I just said words in my head. Nothing ever, and I was getting really, really frustrated with that. And then somebody handed me a Star Wars book, and it was The Rule of Two. And I started to read through that, and I realized, oh, if I like the material, I'm playing the movie in my head, baby. It's all there. And Darth Bane is really, really, really cool. He invented the Rule of Two, which, before that, there was an army of Sith and an army of Jedi, and they would always fight and recruit and fight and recruit forever. And he was just like, no more. No, we're gonna end that. So he kills, in one battle, he kills most of the Sith and a lot of the Jedi. And then, disappears and starts being all evil and plotty. A really cool thing about him is at some point in the story, he gets kind of infected with these scarabs that basically have Beskar shells. Like lightsaber-proof shells, but they grow on him, and he figured out a way to keep it from growing past his neck. But his entire body was covered with this. So he kind of invented a new lightsaber style that is all offense. Absolutely no defense was needed, because if they hit me, it's not going to do anything. Wild. So, it's just mega tank. Love it.
Yeah, and there was, because longtime listeners will know, I haven't read the Darth Bane books, but I know a lot of the story because I'm a nerd and I'm always on the internet. But wasn't there also something where, those, crab scarab things are, attached to him, and, they're keeping him in constant agony?
Yes.
He would use that to fuel kind of his rage in the dark side, right?
It was a symbiotic relationship that...
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Gave him the power.
But no, fantastic.
Really fun.
I love both those villains, and I love what Darth Bane means to you. That's really, really, really cool. So are you telling me that I have more books I need to put on my Star Wars to read list?
Oh, yeah, if you haven't read those.
I'm sorry. It's a nerd cred flying away. I know the story.
I
haven't, but,
but the whole trilogy is really, really good. Cool. I highly recommend reading those. It is a fun story, and it's set in a way before time, so you can really just see the galaxy and what it was back then and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so we've got your favorites of, kind of the big players, right? Who's your favorite small player? Who's your favorite random alien background character, glup shitto type?
My first one is Salacious B. Crumb.
Fantastic.
Yes, I just wanted to know more about his story. Just a little stooge of Jabba the Hutt who is living life and loving it, and laughing at all the jokes.
Yeah, we us Star Wars fans, we would love to say that, I want to be Luke, I want to be Han. In Star Wars, we would probably be Salacious B. Crumb. we would be a small guy. I would be a small guy on the side, laughing at what's happening.
I'd probably be a gonk droid.
I love it. Well, so you got a second one?
I do. TK421.
Oh, nice. Why?
TK421. I for some reason, it's just always been burned into my brain, that call sign and that quote, TK421, why aren't you at your post? Recently, I told Matt about this at some point, but recently I came across the Wikipedia page for TK421, and there is pages of made-up lore for this one random stormtrooper that got tricked into going into the Millennium Falcon and had his suit stolen. We don't know what happened to him after that, but check out the Wikipedia page on TK421 if you have some time. It's a pretty funny.
That is one of my favorite things, and sometimes one of my least favorite things about this franchise that I love so much, is that after coming up on 50 years of this being consistently one of the most popular fictional IPs that has ever existed, on top of George just not caring what publishing did. Yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care. I'll rewrite it later. That every single side character, they just went nuts. They went absolutely nuts with the things that they were doing. And do you remember any of that TK421 lore?
I'm not going to spoil it. You got to go find it.
There you go.
Find it.
Listeners, you have homework. Go to Wikipedia, look up TK421, and find out why he wasn't at his post. Well, I guess you know when you watch the movie, but find out where he was at before he was at his post. So anyway, Brian, if you had a lightsaber, what color would it be?
I also have two answers for this one. The first would be indigo.
Okay.
And that
Cool.
That's for a purpose. It's because I don't like the super baby blue blues. I want a dark royal, just indigo blue.
Cool.
Like true blue.
Cool.
The second one is a little bit more fancy. It's something I've dreamed about for a while, and it would be a darksaber, but with a cyan halo around the edge.
Okay.
Kind of undulating between green and blue, I think.
Cool.
That would
Those
be
are
really fun.
Well, I mean, props. Those are easily the most creative answers that we've gotten. Pretty much everybody, like, the wild answer, they'll be like, I want yellow. And it's like, oh, okay. Wow, you're out there. But cool. What's brought you to those two color choices?
Well, like I said, the blue, because blue's been my favorite color. I'm, Leonardo main forever. But yeah, the darksaber, because I saw some fan art with a darksaber with different colored halos, and I went, "Oh, see,
That's
now
cool.
That's
That's
also, yeah, I thought it would be cool to have a darksaber that's more shaped like a scimitar.
Okay.
Have a little bit more fat end with the curve, kind of.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that would be neat.
We'll get there eventually. There's going to be more Darksaber variants. Eventually, we will get some version of the Mandalorian Wars in the whatever version of modern continuity it ends up being, and there's going to be an army of Darksaber variants. You have to figure. But I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so sticking with kind of the visual vibe and being creative in that way, if you could have a Star Wars tattoo, what would it be?
I also got two answers. The Rebel Alliance symbol,
Cool.
especially in these times we find ourselves. I think kind of marking myself as a person of the people
Cool.
who will do his best to fight against evils and tyranny
100%.
would be a good choice. There's another one that's more specific that I've dreamt about for years. I don't have any tattoos. Eventually, maybe.
Yeah.
But it is in the style of a Da Vinci blueprint. It's going to be a lightsaber, all separated into individual pieces. Like, this is how you make a lightsaber, with doodles and numbers and scribbles all in the
Dude.
background. I thought that would be really cool on the forearm.
That would be awesome on the forearm. That would be like almost the equivalent of like the tattoo that you see like chefs have and stuff, where they've got the knife on their forearm, but a light. That would be fantastic. If nothing else, I want that to be a shirt that exists somewhere. If any talented artists are listening, draw that and make it for us. But that would be cool. That's my favorite tattoo idea I've heard so far.
Hey, I'll take it.
I'm giving you props. You're bringing the creativity. You're bringing the originality. This is good stuff. Okay, so sticking with the rule of two, in the last favorite question. Brian Lawson, lifelong Star Wars fan, or at least most of your life Star Wars fan. What is your favorite Star Wars story?
In universe, my favorite Star Wars story is The Rule of Two, the Darth Bane saga.
Cool. Okay.
Absolutely my favorite.
Cool.
Out of personally, my favorite Star Wars story was, I'll take you back to 1999.
Okay.
I had fallen in love with Star Wars and become a Star Wars nerd. I got, cars full of girls driving past the front yard as I'm lightsaber battling with the broom handle in the front yard. I was that guy. And 1999, I was in the 7th grade. I get pulled out of class. I didn't know why. I went to the office. They said, "Get your stuff. You're leaving." I said, "Okay." At first, I was like, "Is there a problem? Is there something wrong?" And
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh no, your stepdad's here, and he's here to pick you up." "Oh, okay, all right." And then I get in the car, and "So what's up? What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, your mother didn't tell you? You have a dentist appointment today.
Okay.
But your stepbrother also does, so we had to go pick him up from school. And then instead of the dentist office, we pull into the movie theater, and he gets tickets to The Phantom Menace. And it was the best afternoon off ever. I remember I was floored, and I could not wait to see it again. All of that Star Wars, all of the lightsaber battles. Oh, the lightsaber battles. The pod racing, everything about it, top to bottom, I was just enthralled with. So, yeah, that's my favorite personal Star Wars story. It's when I got to cut class to go see The Phantom Menace.
So you got a surprise viewing of Phantom Menace. You get to that's cool. That's a fantastic story. Well, then I gotta ask: has Phantom Menace held up for you over the years?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Really?
I
Awesome.
really enjoy the prequels.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there have been worse Star Wars things that have happened since then. But I was at a time in my life, this was, I can't even remember how old I was back then, but, there was at a time in my life where that's just cool. Everything is cool. And the lovey-dovey stuff, and I get it. And I see, I was also really, really interested to see how they would wrap it up. This Anakin boy, and now Anakin man, throughout. How is he going to fall? I don't see it. And then, they peppered it in nicely. And, yeah, I really enjoyed the prequels.
Right on. Yeah, I wasn't trying to challenge you. I was just curious. I remember, I was in 5th grade. I was 10 when Phantom Menace hit. And I remember loving it, seeing it 3 times. And then I was 13 then when Attack of the Clones came out, and that was the first time. I will never forget this feeling as long as I live. Or that's ridiculous, but at least not for a good long while. I remember having watched the whole movie. I don't remember how I felt about anything else, but I remember watching the wedding scene, realizing the film was about to end, and going, but it wasn't that good. And it broke me in a weird way, and then I just kind of sat there like, is everything that I spend all my time thinking about a waste? Little did I know that 23 years later I would still be thinking about it as much. But yeah, no, everybody knows my feelings about the Disney stuff if you listen to this podcast enough. But the glow up that the prequels have received has been really interesting. But you've always been a prequel fan from the jump.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Awesome. I was always that guy that in the friend group they would shut up about Jar Jar. You know what Jar Jar was? He was a way for kids to enjoy Star Wars. So shut up about it.
That is the mature take that I wish I had had.
Mm-hmm.
I got caught up in the internet hate and like you're saying, the hate that everyone else around me had for a while. The difference was I still kept going to go see the movies. But all right. So Brian, the last question, the most personal question, this is where we lay out the floor and let you kind of get on your soapbox. But we've heard some of your favorite stories in and out of universe. We've heard about your favorite parts of this universe that we love so much. But overall, what does Star Wars mean to you?
Star Wars to me is the quintessential sci-fi universe. Others are great, others are cool, and part of it is because we all know that George Lucas had really, really good ideas, but not exactly specific ideas. That was all for somebody else to figure out later on. And then there was the giant blow up after the movies, before the prequels, of just canon, not canon, maybe kind of, but it really just, it's this wonderful sandbox to just think of all kinds of different stories and think of the lore of things and how one thing leads to another, and this thing way on the other side of the galaxy somehow affects this thing on Coruscant. It just, it's a wonderful world. And yeah, that's what Star Wars means to me.
Fantastic. I love it. And everybody knows that I feel exactly the same. Okay, dude. Awesome interview. And now it's time for pain. Okay, so we have reached the ridiculous Wrathtar random hard trivia question. As everybody knows, and I know you know, there are no winners or losers, really, because either you get this insane question correct, and yay, or you don't, and you have a life. So here we go. So, having seen this movie longer than any of the others, I'm happy that I picked a question from A New Hope. So, Brian, what is Wedge Antilles' call sign in A New Hope?
Red Leader?
Nope.
That's
I forget that guy's name, but that's a different guy.
No, that isn't. You're
Red
right.
Leader, yeah.
So
You want to take another shot?
Nope. I got nothing.
Red 2.
Red 2.
Close.
It's right there.
He's almost to the tippity top. But there was a moment, the other one that I was going to ask you, but I figured this would be too easy. I was stuck on call signs, and I was like, and so the other question was, well, I don't know, I don't want to say it's too easy and then you might not get it, but I was going to ask you, what's the call sign of the pilot in The Empire Strikes Back that picks up Han and Chewie, or not Han and Chewie, picks up Han and Luke when they're stuck out in the snow?
Ooh, not even a clue.
Oh, okay.
Not even
he
one.
He says Rogue 2.
Rogue 2.
Because he says it like 5 times. He's flying over the mountains and he's like, Rogue 2, this is calling for so-and-so. This is Rogue 2. Rogue 2, this
You are
is
so
Rogue
right. 2.
Well, then my bad.
Good questions.
Thanks, man. I like to, I've never, but everybody knows that I'm the biggest encyclopedic dork that could ever live. But okay, so that game has passed, and now it's just time for fun.
Yay.
Now it's just time for pure fun. Okay, so we're going to play This or That Jedi Edition, where I'll give you 2 Jedi, and you've got to pick between them. So we got a list of Jedis, and we're going to see who makes it out of this gauntlet. Might be the last one, who knows. But okay. You got to pick one, and only that one advances. The other one's gone forever, Brian.
Okay.
But okay. Mace Windu or Kit Fisto?
Mace Windu.
Okay. Mace Windu or Adi Gallia?
Mace Windu.
Okay. Mace Windu or Ki-Adi Mundi?
That's closer, but I'm still going to go with Mace. Mace Windu.
Mace Windu or Yariel Poof?
Oh.
There's no way. There's no way.
Mace Windu. Mace Windu.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So Mace Windu or Deep Cut, Nomi Sunrider.
Ooh.
Deep 90s comics cut.
Mace.
Okay.
Mace.
Okay. Mace Windu or Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon.
Oh, okay, there it is. Qui-Gon Jinn or Saesee Tiin.
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon or Plo Koon.
Ooh. Oh, I love Plo Koon so much. He's so cool. Oh, he's so cool, though. But Qui-Gon.
Okay.
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon Jinn or I'm a Gundy from the Clone Wars.
Qui-Gon.
All right, so Qui-Gon Jinn or Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka.
Okay. So just to see, Ahsoka Tano or Rey Skywalker.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka Tano or Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay. All right, so here we go. I think I know your answer to this. This guy was going to be earlier in the list, and then I got your answer earlier, so you know what I'm saying. Obi-Wan Kenobi or Jedi Master Yoda.
Why is this the game with the pain, Matt? Yoda, Master Yoda.
Okay, Master Yoda still reigns supreme. Grand Master of the Jedi Order at the time of the prequels, and the Grand Master of the this or that Jedi Championship. Okay, man, we did it. Well, so then I got, just to keep things silly here, I got one last question. Brian, as a forever lover of Star Wars Episode 1, do you think there could be any credence to the fan theory that Jar Jar Binks is a secret Sith Lord?
Well, my real answer is no.
But now let's have fun.
My hopeful, heartful answer is absolutely. Absolute. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
Every time he's extra bumbly and does something that saves the day. Plus, I like the thought of fetching your lightsaber not with the Force, but with the tongue. Just.
I mean, hey, Darth Jar Jar, if it was real, would be very formidable if he could just be snatching stuff with the Force and that tongue. But okay, there we go. We did it. Brian, thanks for coming on the show, man. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
I need to plug something that we haven't set yet, but it's going to happen. There's going to be a debate on this show between the two of us. We're going to debate whether or not Grey Jedi exist.
Which they do.
It's happening. Which I don't think they do.
And they should.
But I don't think they should.
Yeah, let's save it for the next time.
We'll have the great Grey Jedi debate probably after Andor has had its day to fill this back half of the year. But thanks for coming on the show, man. This was awesome. I've asked you this before, but where can the people find you if you want them to?
They can find me listening to the Star Wars podcast, The Force of Others.
There you go. There's the outro. I'm going to take that drop with your radio voice and just put it in from time to time. All right, man. Thanks for coming on the show. This was awesome. We're going to hang out soon. We're going to play more role-playing games. We're going to do all kinds of other stuff. But for now, I'm going to send it back to me and Zach.
And we're back. Thank you all for listening. I hope you had a great time. Thank you, Brian, for being on the podcast. And thank you, Elliot, for being on the podcast last week. I realized I didn't say a thank you. So here's a thank you to both of you for being on the podcast. This show is supposed to be about interacting with fans and with our friends and with everyone that loves Star Wars. So if you have any questions, please email us forceofothersradio@gmail.com. And we will reach out, get into the comics. Get into the comics. Yeah, I love that. We're going to put that towards the end of Comics Corner from here on out. Get into the comments and interact with us. We also have a giveaway going on for the Rebel Scum Con 3-day pass at the first weekend of August in northern Dallas. So if you would like to join us for the Rebel Scum Con, then make sure to interact with that video. It has all of the instructions in the video. You can find it on our Instagram, our YouTube, all of our sources, and we will hope to see and go to the convention with you. We will be there. We'll be doing a bunch of content as well. We're going to be interviewing people on the floor. We might be doing some minor cosplaying, at least I might, depending on how much I can bring in my suitcase. But I'll definitely have a lightsaber on me or two. So yeah, if you would like to, again, email us, forceofothersradio@gmail.com, interact with us in our comments, and we will get back to you however we can, either in the comment section on the podcast or in person at the Rebel Scum Con. And without further ado, and remember, the force of others will be with you, always.